Mixed martial arts brought so many combat styles and techniques together. Although it is so rare that you see Chinese kung fu practices applied in MMA, but people always ask themselves questions like, who's tougher, a professional boxer or a kung fu master? And maybe that's the reason why Yi Long's been getting so much attention lately. Let's find out. I think a lot of you guys saw videos on YouTube with a clean-shaved monk in orange pants kicking the crap out of Western kickboxer fighters. He applies his super Shaolin wushu skills to beat his opponents and proving his dominance over them. So who is this guy and where he came from? There's little information about him on the net, but what we know for sure is that he calls himself Yi Long, and his real name is Lu Jingjun. He was born in Dezhou in Shandong on the 1st of April in 1987. He's 5 foot 9 inches tall and weighs 162 pounds. He's a Shaolin Kung Fu master and a kickboxer. He studied at the Shaolin monastery and started to fight in 2009. He had a total of 73 fights with 61 wins and 23 by knockout, and he lost only 11 times. A lot of MMA fans say that Yi Long is a very unpredictable fighter and that he's got some real interesting moves. They say that his tactic is most peculiar. Every fight for Yi Long is a way to surprise the audience. Sometimes he would surprise everyone by deliberately letting his opponents hit him. And after receiving a few dozens of hits, he would sort of activate himself and start to attack his bewildered opponents. He would often run around the ring, waving his hands left and right. Experts note Yi's incredible physique and his outstanding tactic. Yi is actually known for being a great decision maker who knows a way to predict his opponent's moves. The most common version. A lot of people think that Yi Long is a Muay Thai boxer, and that he especially adapted his technique for Shaolin Kung Fu. In the late 90s, it was hard to see the difference in the artist's performances, but now we begin to see a reverse process taking place. Now people want to know the answers to the kinds of questions they had when they were little kids, like who's tougher, a Shaolin monk or a professional boxer? And the thing is, even if Yi wasn't originally trained in Kung Fu and that is using kickboxing and Muay Thai, well, we still should give him some props for the way he engages in a fight and the way he moves about in the ring. Staged fights. There's another version that states that most of Yi's fights are staged and that people are willing to pay good money to see a show like that. So it's kind of like wrestling, only a bit more serious. They say that Yi's opponents just play along and that's what lets him win all the time. They say that Yi makes money with his acting skills, but it's kind of hard to believe when people say things like that. I mean, when you look at what this crazy monk does on stage, you don't really feel like this is something you can compare to wrestling. He gets weak opponents. Another theory says that there's an obvious reason why Yi stays in Asia. Like if he was to fight Conor McGregor or Khabib, he would definitely lose, like right away. Some say that the fact that Yi won many times doesn't prove anything, but the fact that his opponents simply don't know how to fight. And that his entire image is built on smoke and mirrors. Although, it was fun to see Yi fight the giant Hong Man Choi, who by the way was 2 times heavier. And the fact that he beat Waka Banchamek proves that he has some serious skills in his possession and that he's a legitimate fighter. He's a real monk. You just sort of want to believe that Yi is a real monk and that he studied at the Shaolin monastery where he honed his skills for many years, practicing kung fu and meditating all the time. So why is it that Yi does MMA fights then? Who lets him do that? Perhaps it's a kind of question that we'll never find an answer to. Yi is too much of a mystery person. Well, maybe that's for the best. After all, there should always be room for mystery. Yi Long isn't the only extraordinary fighter out there. There are many athletes who are very good fighters, and so let's talk about them. This is Tracy Tallingman. They call him Trauma. He's a retired mixed martial artist and a professional boxer. He was in a car accident when he was 1.5 years old. As a result of that, he lost half of his pectoral and his right lung. But despite that, he began training in karate and got addicted to boxing at the age of 13. And then he started to get interested in jiu-jitsu. So he applied all that knowledge, and that let him become a high-class fighter. Tracy says that he doesn't fight to win, but rather he fights to show people that a human body is a very flexible and capable thing. And this man certainly deserves respect for that. Matt Hamill is an American mixed martial artist. He looks healthy and normal, but the fact about Matt is that he's actually deaf from birth. But that's not an obstacle for Matt. He fights anyways. His condition was never a problem for him when it came to practicing his moves and improve physically. It was his stepfather who introduced him to the world of wrestling. Matt quickly acquired some basic skills and even trained kids for some time. His first ever fight happened in 2006. Back then, he defeated his opponent in less than half a minute. After that, he got noticed by the UFC, and so he signed a very promising contract. So far, he had 16 fights and won 11 times. Nick Newell is perhaps one of the most unique figures in MMA. Thing is, Nick was born with congenital amputation, and it's almost like he lacks an entire left hand. Still, Newell was always a good fighter, and right now he's still an active MMA member. Till the age of 24, Nick was only watching UFC, only dreaming about taking part. It was very clear that it's going to be hard to find an equal opponent for him, because nobody would want to brag about defeating a one-armed man. That would be kind of a shame, while losing to a man with one arm would also be kind of annoying. Still, Newell managed to arrange 6 fights and won all of them. Garrett Holly. This man has a Down syndrome, which isn't very typical for an MMA fighter. Still, he doesn't let his disease stand in the way, and he practices in all sorts of fights. Garrett was born in Florida in 1989. He's not very tall, he's got slanted eyes and short fingers, but he loves kickboxing very much. His parents once took him to see a fight, and ever since then he decided that he was gonna be a fighter himself. He trains every day and he shows some good results, but unfortunately they don't let him fight, for obvious reasons of course. Still, the will of this man is something that a lot of people can gain inspiration from. Alright, and so lastly, the previously mentioned Hong Man Choi, aka Choi Hong Man, aka the Techno Goliath, aka Korean Colossus, aka the Chi Man. Possibly the most popular South Korean fighter with a very rare genetic disorder they call acromegaly. This disease makes his body grow constantly, like all the time. It makes bones thicken, especially the skull. Hong Man Choi is currently retired. When he left MMA, he was 7 foot 2 inches tall and weighed 350 pounds. Just imagine that. He used to be the tallest fighter in the world. His first fight happened on 20th of March in 2004 in Seoul. One time, Choi defeated Semi Schilt, one of the best kickboxers in the business. Alright guys, that's it. Subscribe to Reels Bizarre and press the bell to stay in touch. Also check out some more of our videos. Thank you for watching and we'll see you later.